Starting lineup: Camille, Wukong, Lux, Kaisa, Nami. Up against Ash, Trundle, Caitlyn, Ziggs, Blitzcrank. Rating of the picks for a casual game: Camille as a top, 8. Lux as a mid, 9. Kaisa as a shooter, 6. Nami as a support, 6. Ash as a top, 0. Trundle in the jungle, 9. Caitlyn as a mid, 5. Ziggs as a shooter, 6. Blitzcrank as support, 7. A couple of things here. You are gold rank. Your name is Jet GPT, and you're going Ash as a tank. Log off, leave your computer, pick up the phone, and call for assistance. You have mental issues. If you've been in the game this long, because we see this and I call this out when I see it from gray rank, but in order to have gold rank, especially if you don't have a game pass, how many games do you have had to play? Without Game Pass, like 500, 600 games, right? Full game, full league games, 500, 600 games. And after 500, 600 games, your conclusion is to play Ash as a tank? That's what you land on? You may see a humoristic side to this or a comedy side to this, but the reality is this is a better test of mental health than the test that they have you do in school when you are 11 years old. This is a better test of mental health than the Rorschach test and whatever else. There is no way. With this Caitlyn player is a totally different situation. You're gray, you may theoretically be a Smurf account, but you also may be a fun person who's just wandering around. And we're gonna have to bear with you for now. Because you're just trying out something new. This is totally different. This is like a person who killed 600 times as opposed to a person who accidentally killed someone. I'm guaranteeing you, if you can have major takeaways from the mental tests that you have to take as an 11-year-old child in school, then you can have even far greater takeaways from this kind of behavior in this kind of situation in League. In order for you to have played 500, 600, 700 games and want to tank on Ash, you are about to cut yourself in real life. You are about to harm yourself in real life. Because it shows that you truly want to get effed up. Moving on. First play, and we have a little bit of female emotions coming into play here. And we're going to see this Ash bring down Camille, the tank. Now, you understand, if the game functioned this way for real, then everything about League would come tumbling down. The elite top laners would play Jinx in the top lane. The elite mid laners would play Caitlyn in the mid lane. And the elite junglers would play Kaisa in the jungle. However, this is not how League works. And if you go to your character portrait, down at your bar with your spells in the game, you can click on these little blue things that give you descriptions, and it will pop up and say, has this much armor now? Has this much health now? Is this magic resistant now? For example, as I've pointed out in a video recently, those numbers with Pyke are astronomically lower than those numbers with Wukong at the beginning of the game. This is why Pyke will frequently die while trying to kill chickens. Wukong could never even dream of dying while killing chickens because of many different numbers, but mainly because of his armor. Kind of a bit of a compilation here of everything that I've said about this issue about marksman in previous videos. But again, if you had massive monstrous range and you could also individually beat out melee users, then Literally, Ash would just be God at everything, right? Because she would have the maximum armor and the maximum attack and the maximum life pool, right? However, this is not how League of Legends is put together, right? This is how your female emotions are put together. This is not how League of Legends is put together. With the gift of incredible range comes in reality an unbelievably steep price of not being able to stand up by yourself. Ash is unbelievably frail. Twitch is unbelievably frail. Jinx is unbelievably frail. You will notice yourself if you go look at the scoreboard. Almost every single casual game, these characters will have the most deaths. That's because casual amateur skill cannot compensate for the fact that you have no effing life points. Thus, instead of getting emotional and starting to get all feminized and shit, when you're in this kind of situation, just simply walk them down. You can take, by nature, way more punishment than they can. If you are a natural tank, you don't have to be afraid of them. It's a mind game that they're playing at best, while in reality they're not playing any game, they're just not very smart people. But at heart, what's going on here is a mind game. You're being tricked into believing that this Ash can just face off with you. She can't. This person, as a top laner, complained and cried to get my help millions of times. You're going up against a marksman. This should be free. Marksmen don't have half your natural strength. Now, here we have putting a level of burden on somebody else and looking for help in such a way and disabling yourself, putting all the responsibility on other people in such a way that just makes yourself deeply unhappy and destabilized. And if you wonder why there's rumors in the West of many businesses trying to exclude women from a seat at the table, it's because you get these emotional outbursts with them that make your situation completely impractical and winning very difficult. Now look at the map. How am I gonna get to you? How am I going to get to you to assist you? How is that realistically going to happen? Also, something that I've never understood for as long as I've been alive. There's a tower right there. Why are you running in the direction away from the tower? You think, hey, listen, I'm going to be the safest, the farthest I am away from my own tower. Maybe if you're looking for protection, don't run away from your structures of protection. Don't know. Just a thought. And you know what's going to happen? If I do this, if I grant this person's wish and I start babysitting them, that's why I never listen to people. You know what's going to happen? Number one, enemy team is going to get all of the dragons. Number two, you're going to get sour because in order to help you out that much, I'm going to have to clog your lane. And I'm going to have to be in your lane the entire time. Asking for unreasonable things on many different levels will only drag everybody else down. Don't do it. Couple of things here mechanically in this game. There is absolutely no reason for you as a shooter to be standing there. If you are standing there, I don't know why you're attacking the mobs instead of attacking the enemy champion. That's point number one. Point number two, we see here the difficulty again with Blitzcrank. As I've said, very niche champion. I think it's admirable that you're trying to help the team in creative ways, But the reality is, in how many situations is this really going to be useful? It's so difficult to aim. There is so much timing that has to happen with you as Blitzcrank. Once again, you would have been much better off with just a tough warrior here instead of Blitzcrank. So not mechanically pulling it off here. Then, at last, you get the ultra tough Trundle being built, of course, as you would, like a marksman with a bunch of massive attack speed because it's Europe and we have convinced ourselves that God is attack speed. And so attack speed is God, and God is attack speed, and so we're going to give Trundle attack speed. Because, there is actually quasi nothing in his kit that works with attack speed, but what the heck? What the heck, right? You only benefit from attack speed with Trundle when you're standing placidly next to your enemy. Here's, by the way, a big mistake that other people make. People think that you get the attack speed every time you're in combat. You don't. If you are chasing somebody down and he's like a second away from you and you get to hit him every second, you would have done that anyway, even with low attack speed. You don't need high attack speed to hit a moving target, because if you have to chase them down, you can only hit them at the exact moment that your frame touches their frame anyway, if you're in melee. Champions like Warwick, champions like Trundle only benefit from attack speed when the enemy is standing still in front of them. And here you want to, of course, go King Kong, which is understandable as Trundle. The only problem is you haven't built him like Trundle. You've built him like Jinx. And so this is what you get. Because it turns out that Trundle is not Jinx. And so when you jump in like this and you expect to be super tough and out-tough the other guy and you're just going to take it and you're smarter than them, I want you to count how many times does the attack speed here come in? How many times does he benefit from attack speed? He put like 6,000, 8,000 into attack speed. Gold. Let's look at how many times he gets to hit the enemy more than once. Let's go. Let's count. So here he has difficulty closing the gap. So he hits her once. Does he need attack speed for that? So he hits her once again. Does he need attack speed for that? So that is one hit every 3 seconds for a total of 2 hits. Good job, everyone. Here we're going to have a typical example of a squishy overreach here. And when you're very frail, and you didn't put anything into hit points, you didn't put anything into survivability, you have to be careful that you don't go in too deep. Once again here with the seeking safety in the grace and the beauty of the Aztec statues here, don't know how that is going to help you. Never really seen the little stone block statuettes help anyone. Here's a good example of peace through strength. You're trying to please and appease here. You're trying to be very courteous, give them some breathing room, give them some breathing space. You're not sticking together in any way. If you look at me, Kaisa, Nami, Camille, all together, this is 4 people. We have Kaisa, Camille, me, and Nami, all together in one spot, ready to pounce. But no, we're selfish. We're only going to try to survive by ourselves. We're also scared. We're insecure. We don't trust anyone. We have no faith in anyone. Well, that is to say, everybody except for me who's trying to dive in behind them. And so we're just going to spread ourselves very thin try to disappear without a trace here, fan out, spread ourselves as thin as possible, and then pay the price for that. And you have these two people making very stupid decisions in Trundle and Blitzcrank, but somehow they're able to overcome us just because they're willing to stick together. And this is how trying to save yourself in this way just screws everybody over. And quite frankly, what you see here, just to make sure that my channel never gets any recommendations and never gets any chance to grow in any way, let me just say the non-politically correct thing. What you see here is a young French boy in Trundle going up against 3 girls. Characters being played by girls in Kaisa, Camille, and Nami. And this is just the fundamental French male mentality up against general female mentality. You have French boy going, I'm going to stand up no matter what. I'm going to stand up for myself no matter what. And you have these women looking out for themselves and retreating. And this is how you get here. This is how a 43-16 victory team turns into a punching bag. Taking a look at the scoreboard here, we see here a shooter in Kaisa who's playing an extremely difficult champion and building her with items such as Static Shiv, Rage Blade. This is correct. This is a very serious build that mirrors what we see in pro games. It is very ambitious, it's very difficult. It requires a lot of research compared to what the average casual will do to land on this. You definitely have to put in some effort to get to know this shopping list. The fact that you can go on such a difficult champion with such all-out offensive items that you can go 9, 3, and 8 means that you have potentially a real significant future waiting for you, depending on whether it was just purely situational because of the enemies that you were facing, or whether it was truly inherent to you and your skill. These are items and champions that would work on almost no single casual. If I would tell you, hey, you have to go out and lose 100 games, go play Kaisa in the amateurs, and go buy Static Shiv and Rage Blade. Because by itself, this is indeed how the best of the best do it, Jackie Love and whatever else, the best snipers in the world play like this, but the reality is that for the vast majority of people, this is not realistic. This is truly about as difficult as it gets. You have no health pool, you have to make every shot count. The abilities are not that straightforward, you don't have that many options. This is extremely difficult to do. By itself, very mature build. Yeah. I can endorse Blitzcrank, and we have been giving him a 7 out of 10 on the channel. You also get +1 in sympathy points from me, because at the end of the day, it is a very courageous and unselfish thing to do to want to play Blitzcrank. However, you have to build him like Mundo, though. You can't go Blitzcrank and then start getting into Sorcerer's shoes. You have to build him like Mundo, though. You can't go halfway. If you want to make this kind of commitment and you want to support the team before anything else, and also give yourself a much better opportunity to find a professional team if you ever get good, because the list of, or the amount of demand for extra supports is massive, but then you do have to go all the way with it. You can't first go, oh, I'm gonna be a supporting cast and I'm gonna do everything for the team, and then 5 seconds later go like, and by the way, I also kind of want to build him like RE. So if you would build Blitzcrank like this consistently, his score would be a 2 or a 3 out of 10 instead of a 7 out of 10. And it just goes to show you, back when I struggled with Blitzcrank on games on the channel, or in games on the channel, it was probably more because of item choices than because of Blitzcrank. It was probably more a person who lowered themselves by playing Blitzcrank but made very smart tanky choices.